Actually got the ball. Good morning, Tottenham fans, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with your boy Dave, and I am back. You didn't think I was going to miss this one, did you? Look, my absence, I have been out. My dad's been in hospital with his heart. All is okay now. He's on the mend. Long road ahead. Still a lot of tests to go, but he is stable, which is absolutely brilliant. So that's why your boy is here returning for the first North London derby outside the UK. And as you can see, we are joined by the one and only Johnny. Johnny, it's good to be back sharing a screen with you, my man. How are you keeping? And thank you very much for giving up your time this morning.
No worries, mate. Always for you, Dave. No problem, mate. I don't know what to say about today. It feels like really weird because obviously the big build-up for a North London derby. But today, I got to be honest, I think I'm more angry than excited going into this game.
Why?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because it's called preparation, right? Arsenal went out to Singapore on the 17th of July. And if you've ever been to Asia, you'll know. But if you've never been to Asia, I'll explain to you. Jet lag, when you're flying 14 hours, my sister lives out in Singapore. It's horrendous. It takes me days to get back into the swing of things. This heat and the humidity, you walk outside and you're literally dripping wet. It's
that warm over there, that humid?
Yeah, it's that humid. It's the humidity's like, yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah.
Tough conditions to play in, so.
Yeah, tough conditions to play in. So Arsenal have been out acclimatising, getting over the jet lag since 17th of July. We've turned up on Monday, 3 days before the game. I mean, if you've ever been off a long haul, right, and you're a sportsman, right, the only preparation I saw was them wearing them socks to stop, the blood travelling up the socks, travel socks. And that's about it. Look, the humidity is terrible. The fact that they've been out there training in it for nigh on 2 weeks, they've got all their players in, not messing around. Whereas we've got one player in, we got about 5 or 6 players that should be there that are at home. And it's like, are you going to give Thomas Frank even half a chance to get this right? Because I'll tell you what's going to happen. If we get beat today, which is likely, and listen, I always want us to win, but taking all conditions, their squad, our squad, and everything else, is everyone going to pile in on poor old Thomas Frank and say, what a pile of crap, we should have kept Ange Postecoglou? I can guarantee you that's going to be the narrative, probably.
Look, well, first of all, I mean, planning isn't exactly Tottenham's forte. It was only a couple of seasons ago we went out somewhere in the middle of monsoon season thinking we could go and have a pre-season there. So, planning is not really Tottenham's forte.
Exactly.
I also hear you about the transfers. You look at the amount of them Arsenal have made this summer. You look at the, how gung-ho they are about going and matching their ambitions compared to us, and how, our market is stalled and everything else. I mean, it is very, very frustrating. And I fear you might actually see that relayed on the pitch today. You got to remember, we were miles off them at their place, during the season. Now that they've added to their squad, I do think it's a bit of concern, because this season was all about trying to catch Arsenal. If you catch Arsenal, you automatically prepare yourself into a title race to a large degree. I hear what you're saying about Thomas Frank. Look, because of the noise around Postecoglou, I think that noise is going to come around Thomas Frank, if he doesn't start winning games. But I maintain, like I did under Postecoglou, Conte, Jose Mourinho, the club ain't doing enough to help these guys.
Correct.
They're not doing anywhere near enough to help these guys. The fact that and we'll get onto it in a while, but the fact that Destiny Udogi's picked up another knee injury, which is his 3rd in 3 seasons, by the way, and the club are still sitting here, now we don't know who's going to play left back. Yeah, people could say Jed Spence, but the reality, he's brought in to play right back, challenge Pedro Porro. You might not get another 50-game season out of Pedro Porro this year. You just don't know, and that for me irks me. It winds me up. You really don't help all these managers, going into the season, and ultimately, it's us fans that end up paying the price as soon as the season starts. So I do air them frustrations. Let's go down to Dermot. Dermot, are you as frustrated, or are you nice and calm today?
I'm probably a bit of both. I'm probably am frustrated with the transfer market. Big up, Johnny. Nice to share a stream with you at last. So big up to you, and great to see you back, Dave. Look, I'm frustrated with the transfer market. I'm frustrated that we are so slow in buying everyone. or anyone. And I'm frustrated that we wasted 2 weeks on Morgan Gibbs White and just sat in our hands and did absolutely nothing. I agree with you. Everything you've said, probably you and Johnny said. I think it's the same old, and we can't keep going on like this. You're right about Destiny, you doggy. 3rd injury in 3 years, and we're just who we got there? Ben Davis.
Well, that's my fear,
there,
you know. Like,
yeah,
are
and
they
he's
really
been
gonna
there
go
for
in?
the last 10 years, and we haven't replaced that. We keep saying Basuma's not good enough. We haven't replaced Basuma. We know we need another striker, and we haven't gotten another striker. We can't rely on Richie. Richie's always injured, and Solanke isn't going to get you them 15, 20 goals a season. So I think the club, I'm so frustrated with how it's happening and what's happening. But today's a bit different. It's the North London derby. I think all that goes out the window. You just want to beat them. I don't care if it's a friendly league game, cup game, European game. You want to beat Arsenal. And that if you beat Arsenal today, that sets you up then for the Newcastle game Sunday with a bit of momentum and a bit of positive about you. And then we can move on from there. But we need to back Frank. We didn't back Ange. I don't care what anyone says. We didn't back him last summer or last January. And we're doing exactly the same thing again. But we need to, because if we don't, we're going to be in the same position as we were last season.
No, 100%. And look, I think when we do get on to discussion about the transfer window, I think we need to have a massive discussion about Johan Lang and his ability to back managers, you know, with the players that they need at the right times when they need them as well. I think there needs to be a serious discussion around there. Let's just welcome a couple of people in. Then I do want to get into talk about today's game, you know, Tottenham's transfer window and stuff like that, and plenty of stuff to speak about. We have Amuval Randomized. Good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. Shamu, great to see you in the building. Hopefully you're keeping well. Kiwi Spurs TV has become a new channel member. Big yourself up and really appreciate all the support, my man. Good to see you in the building. Who else have we got here? Oh, him and Shamu, actually. They're from the same place, actually. Jeb Tam says, morning, Jack, Dave, and the panel, everyone in the chat. It's game day, North London Derby, Hong Kong style. Hope your family is okay, Dave. We're all on the mend, man. We're all getting there. I had a bit of a scare, but we're all getting there, my man. Good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. Who else have we got in here? Sam Boy is in the house. Big up, Sam. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. Really appreciate you tuning in. We also have Ran Vignac. My name is Jeff. I see the future. I see us beating Arsenal today and winning the Super Cup. Come on, you Spurs. Tartan Spurs, big up, lads. Hope Dave and Dad are okay. Preparation in players' fitness is key. However, if we take a beating, then it might accelerate our transfer business, not just incomings, but hopefully outgoings. Fair point. I just don't think we should have to sit there and wait for an embarrassing hiding for that to be the case. Big up, Leighton Evelyn. Good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. We also have K32 in the house. Great to see you. Scott Spur. Patch Thomas, great to see you. Lee Nery's in the house as well. As always, good to see you. We've got Ryan Trestain in the building. Good to see you back, Dave. I hope your dad is better than he was. He's on the mend, everybody. He is on the mend. Still a long way to go. Long road to recovery. Not out of the woods completely yet, but he is on the mend, which is absolutely brilliant. Got We Are Spurs TV. Good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. Lee Moody as well. Jimmy Hotspur, great to see you. And Adam D and Stephen Boyd as well. Great to see you guys in the building. But, guys, let's crack on. I mean, as a Spurs fan, I am curious to know, because it sort of threw me a little bit. How do you feel about Thomas Frank showing Arsenal some respect in his latest press conference and praising them, calling Arsenal one of the best teams in the world? Because for me, I get it to a certain degree, but I also think he needs to realise the audience he's pandering to, you know, which is Tottenham fans. And we don't really like to give Arsenal credits. What do you make about Thomas Frank coming in straight away and giving them that credit?
Listen, he's just speaking honest, isn't he? I mean, do you know what I mean? I mean, they are, right? Yeah. They might come second. They might be choking when it counts. I mean, I love it. I love the expectation followed by the utter dejection and disappointment of failing to reach your objective, and that's what Arsenal are. You know, the big noise in March when Mikel Arteta said, "We're going to spend. We're spending big this summer," and all Spurs fans went, "Oh, for God's sake!" Right? But little did they know that creeping up on the rails was Liverpool spending even more to rain on their parade. You know, Whereas Spurs, let's be honest, we could go and probably buy 4 players and still be behind Arsenal. So I think it's just an honest comment. You can read into it what you want. If someone said to me, what do you think of Arsenal? I'd say shit, but they are one of the best teams out there. And, it's just a sad indictment of the club that we are currently supporting, that we do support, that currently, we're in the position that we are. Because I remember not so long ago where Arsenal weren't in the Champions League. We were in the Champions League. We were beating Liverpool 4-1 at Wembley. Yeah. And they looking like they were treading water and going nowhere. And, the club has missed a huge opportunity to move forward time and time again. And is this summer window yet another example of a false dawn? Or are we going to actually do some business? But let's be honest,
how much of it, Johnny, is him not believing in his Spurs squad? The fact that, because I believe if he felt like he had a better Spurs squad maybe available to him, that he could go and really compete, I just wonder, would his words be a little bit different? Would he show them as much praise?
No.
He's practically rimming them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, listen, he's rimming them. No, listen, for me, I think what the situation in here is this is one of the comments I made about Thomas Frank. I've been a huge a fan of Frank for a number of years watching Brentford. My worry was that he was going to come in, and having seen how small his squad was and how tight his squad was and how few quality players he had, he was going to walk into that Spurs dressing room and get a hard on after what he's had to deal with, right? And I said that would be a huge mistake, because however much of an upgrade Spurs squad is to Brentford squad, it still was woefully short of where they need to be to go where we got to go.
No, 100%. Look, and I think that's fair. And I think every Spurs fan is, recognizing it, that bar Kudus and Takai's more or less got the same team as we did last season. I think it's unfair on Frank. I think, if you're Thomas Frank, looking at the fact that and this is what scares me about Arsenal this year, they finally went and addressed their major issue, which was buying an out-and-out striker, which I think automatically sort of turns them into contenders. My only hope is that Liverpool and that have done even better business and can go and secure that title again, because there's not a hope that we can stop Arsenal, going there whatsoever at this moment in time with the squad we've got. But look, I'll be honest, not a massive fan of Thomas Frank sitting there praising Arsenal. At the end of the day, look, he's probably honest. They did, go to the semi-final of the Champions League and stuff like that, to be fair. I would have just liked a little bit more needle in it from Thomas Frank to a certain degree, because my big feeling in general is I think we're way too nice going into derbies, especially likes of Chelsea and Arsenal games. I think to a large degree, most times we go in there, we're too nice. We're too weak, we don't rough them up enough, whereas they rough us up and stuff like that. And I just worry that maybe Thomas Frank is leaning into that a bit too much. I think what we need is we need to start showing some nastiness in these sort of games, some mental toughness as well. And I would have liked to have seen maybe Thomas Frank just throw a little drive in there. But again, that's probably me being picky. Dermo, it is the first North London derby outside of the UK. And Frank has said it is not a friendly, and he will do everything to try and win this game, which was soothing to my ears. I'm not going to lie. As Spurs fans, though, and everybody out there, are we taking today's game lightly, as it's just a friendly like everyone else usually approaches these preseason games? Or does a win here actually matter, even if it is preseason?
A win matters. I've seen a few people in the Spurs YouTube world saying we're going to get beat, we're not going to win. It doesn't matter. Of course it matters. It's a North London derby. I don't care if it's a friend, as I said before, friendly cup, European, whatever it is. Back in 2021, did we care we beat Arsenal then? Yeah, we did, when we won 1-0. Did we, it's so important. It adds momentum. You get positive. You from a win from that against Arsenal, and I must admit, a very good Arsenal side. I hate saying it, but they're a very good, and you are right. They have addressed their one issue was the striker, and that worries me for this season. but Liverpool have gone the next step up as well. But a win today can do so much for our confidence, so much give our supporters a boost after them 2 lackluster games against Luton and Wickham. I thought Luton was woeful. If we were still playing there, I don't think we would have still scored. I think we'll still be playing around. It's just so important, Dave, today. And I think a win against Arsenal in anything is important. I don't care. It's a North London derby. I want to win it. I want to prove to them. I want to prove to them that North London is white and blue. It's never red. It's always been white and blue.
I think the thing is here, right? If you've, I'm not trying to disrespect anyone, but if you've never been out to Asia at this time of the year, you have absolutely no idea of the intensity of that heat. When I go out there, first of all, the jet lag is a killer, as I said it right at the beginning there. It takes me 3 or 4 days before I even know what's going on. Or literally all over the place. Yeah, because the jet lag is 8 hours time difference. It's absolutely horrendous. And on top of that, you want to go into a shopping centre because it's aircon. Right? I used to go with my camera. You're in the aircon in the filming in the shopping centre. You go out and then it's like walking in to a full-on heated air conditioning system, right? And your camera steams up. You just can't run in it. It's really, really tired. Was it not? If I'm right, I can't remember now. Was it under Conte when they were doing the running in Asia and they were all puking up on the sideline?
Arguing Messi.
Yeah.
Right. And all I'm telling you is that whoever organised this should be shot. We should never have been out playing Luton and Wickham. We should have been out in Asia, acclimatising, doing the training out there, basically, and getting accustomed to it. So we give ourselves even half a chance. But there's one thing that's pissing me off more than anything else. Is this a jolly for everybody on board? All I see is everyone having a jolly. Why is Johan Lang out there having a jolly, right? He should be behind his
even out there is concerning.
Phone, right? Yeah. And, doing the business, right? Not out there with a jolly with everybody else, having a good time, right? If I want a good time and, I want to see someone enjoying themselves, I'll watch Expressions. I don't need to see Thomas Magnolia Wallpaper Lang, right? It's just sitting there doing nothing. And what's even more worrying is, has anyone seen Fabio Paratici? Because it's awfully quiet out there. And unless we know that if there was any chance that Douglas Luiz was coming and Fabio was involved, that deal would be done already because of his ties to Juventus. We would probably have De Winter in because of his ties. There's no real serious Italian links either.
Well, you know what was concerning for me that I think Paratici was on a contract in August, even though the new ban would be up before then. And personally, people call me cynical. I think it's by design by the football club. Keep Paratici on a contract in August, which gives him fuck all time to work. Up until then, sit there and pout the narrative, because that's what will happen later. Didn't trust Johan Lang to spend our money. We wait for Paratici to come back. By the time he comes back, your window's almost closed. All the best players are gone. Daniel Levy saves a fortune because there's no good players out there. He can go and spend 70, 80 million on. So all of a sudden, he's in the 20 million, 30 million bracket, which suits him absolutely fine. People call me cynical at the start of the window when I smack a rat. The fact that they used the first transfer window, the whole window, to try and bring in a manager. You know what I mean? Why all the best players being snapped up around, players that would have made massive improvements to our squad. And I think, it's been made by design by this football club, quite frank. I think that's literally one of the only reasons why they changed manager as well, to a certain degree, because the expectation on their hands was Spurs have to bring in 5 quality players, non-negotiable. All of a sudden, you bring in Thomas Frank because he's known as a coach. All of a sudden, people think you can start bringing in players from all over the world, and this style is just going to develop them into world-class talents. And they've played an absolute blinder in that regard. Look, there's still time in the window. I'm still going to give them time to prove me wrong. But so far, they've done nothing but prove me right. But look, in terms of today's game, look, I think the fact that Thomas Frank says he wants to come out and win this game, I think fans have to judge it accordingly. I don't think if we get a battering or if we take a pasting today, that fans should sit there and go, it's only preseason. Because you know what? We done that to a degree last season in preseason. And we walked into the season and the same shit continued happening. So for me, I think if we take a pasting today, I think it's a concern. We've got PSG around the corner in 2 weeks' time. This game, the Newcastle game, the Bayern Munich game, they matter. These are our warm-up games to that PSG game to go and get us ready to be able to go and try and compete on some level. These games absolutely matter, and the team should be judged accordingly on whether they win or not today, because that's what Thomas Franks wants out of this squad. And I don't care whether the game is out in Hong Kong or at the Lane. At the end of the day, bragging rights is on the table, and I want to win it. We're European champions, and I just want to rub it in and make sure Arsenal knows that. But for me, I don't think we can afford to take games lightly today. I don't think we can afford to give the excuses it's only pre-season. They have to come out and put in somewhat of a coherent performance and show us that they can compete, because if you can't compete with Arsenal, you can't compete with Newcastle. How the fuck are we going to compete with PSG? So we have to show we are at least somewhat competitive today. But Johnny, that brings me on to my next question. I mean, look, plenty of.
Can I just add? Sorry, yeah. Dave. Can I just add? Right? Has anyone looked at the gap between this? Right. So you've just flown 14 hours. Right. You dump yourself in that place. Right. You play a game 3 days later. You play that game against Arsenal. You then fly, you get on a plane and you fly from Hong Kong to Korea. You jump on, you play Newcastle. Then you jump on another plane a couple of days, not even a couple of days later. And then you get to Bayern Munich, right? And then you fly from Munich to Italy for that game. And then 3 days later, we're playing Burnley. Right? Where's the step down time? Where's the recuperation time? Where's the recovery time for all of this? I mean, if you've ever traveled,
and don't they say, Johnny, traveling as well means you're more susceptible to injury the more you travel as a pro athlete.
Which is why they wear them socks, right? They wear those fancy black socks. I just honestly, whoever done this is about money, pure and simple. Right. This isn't about the well-being, in my opinion. This isn't about the well-being of the players. This isn't about helping Thomas Frank to acclimatise. We've gone from one extreme to the other. We've gone from playing a bunch of pirates in Asia, was it last year or the year before, to now playing probably the toughest pre-season fixture list I've seen in years. I don't remember us playing the likes of Arsenal, Newcastle, Bayern Munich, and PSG before we even go to play Burnley.
Look, it makes a change from the Sale City Liners or Tigers, whatever you want to call them. Do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. But look, you are absolutely right. Like, all this preseason about is travel. There's no well-being or thought about the well-being of our Tottenham players. Because when you travel as a pro athlete, and they say especially on planes and stuff like that, you are more susceptible to injuries and stuff like that. And the amount of flying that they're expecting these guys to do over this preseason, guarantee you we're going to end up suffering injuries at the start of the season because of it. It's absolutely mind-boggling. But at the end of the day, money talks, so much so, if Tottenham do want to sell Son, they can't sell him until the end of the preseason tour anyway, because he's contracted to be there. I'm pretty sure that's the same reason why Hyuk is on the tour, purely because he's probably contracted to be there, rather than, him actually, because he's not going to be kept around Tottenham this year. As soon as the tour's over, the guy will be loaned out. It's just absolutely madness. Only at Tottenham Hotspur do we think about money first before actually how can we go and compete, and it pisses everybody off. Anyway, take a couple of comments here, and then I do want to move on. We got Mary W. This is something we are going to talk about. I'm just going to get there. Just let me get there. Says, worried where the goals are coming from. Joff, good morning, evening, Dave and chat. Surgery went well, ended up being a quad bypass. Just got home an hour ago, rest up. And the Fresher says, good morning all. Had a stroke this morning, so watching from hospital. Look, what I will say is I'm starting to see a lot more people with heart conditions, of late, including my dad and stuff like that. And look, I've had my sort of shock a while ago where it's sort of like, you need to get out and look after your heart. The older you get, the harder the heart has to work. So you need to get out there, look after it, and look after yourselves. Look, I know that's rich coming from me, who used to sit here, eat kebabs, drink the amount of Coke and everything else. But I'm telling you, the amount of people starting to go in with hearts now is scary. So start looking after it, peeps. Then we've got this from Mr. Trestaine. Dermo, Ange did get back. He's just a very bad manager. We will never see eye to eye on this, and that's fine. But he was not backed. So, Dermo, I'll give you the right to reply here to Ryan Trestaine. Because to be fair, I think a lot of people made the made the comments that we spent this amount of money on Ange Postecoglou, Dermo. Spent a certain large amount of money on him.
Yeah, just quickly, do look after your heart. As someone's David, you well know, I had another stent put in a couple of weeks ago. I've had one put in 3 years ago, and I had another one put in a few weeks ago. So do look after your heart, because it's the only one you're gonna get. So, and I'm glad your dad's on the mend, Dave. Really am over the moon. So I know what it's like being there. So look, I know what it's like. Look, Dave, with Ryan, he wasn't backed. Please don't. I know you say he was backed. He wasn't backed. Tell me, was he backed with the Eaton striker? No, we bought Solanke late in the transfer window. A couple of days before the Premier League starts. If you buy your striker, you get him in early. You get him to work under a system that the manager wants to play in. He wasn't backed with players that he wanted for his system. He was backed with players that the club wanted. And as much if we love Ange or hate Ange, he won a trophy. But you can't tell me he wasn't backed last summer. And when he needed players last January, he wasn't backed. Even in his first season, he wasn't backed in January when we needed players to push on to get to top 4. When we finished 5th that year, he wasn't backed with players. So, Ryan, I'm sorry. I stick by what I said. He was not backed. The club didn't back him. They didn't back any manager we've had. I'm sorry. This ownership has not backed anybody. So,
I think if you look at the money spent under Ange Postecoglou, I think you can look at it and go, well, 300-400 million, that's backing. But I think once you start weeding out the likes of Elise, Hugh, players like that we've signed with that money that haven't really contributed. When you look at the need, the last 2 January transfer windows on the Postecoglou and last summer, a lot of Solanke arrived late, Udebur arrived late. Apart from that, the club never really stretched so far to really try and alleviate the injury crisis or the problems for Ange Postecoglou. So I do sort of side with you on that, Dermo. On that side, and Rhino, I don't think that's any surprise with you on there. And I think you're seeing the exact same thing starting to happen under Thomas Frank.
Yeah.
They give him kudos, but then they line it up with Takai beside it. They gave Ben Davies a new contract, even though now we need another left back because Adogie's out with a knee injury. The same shit is continuing to happen. Rhino, nothing has changed at the end of the day. But look, I do want to move on. Johnny, plenty of fans say you can't really read too much into preseason. But we've got the Super Cup against PSG just around the corner in 2 weeks' time. I think it's August 13th. At what point do these games stop being warm-up games and start actually being statements of our intentions this season where we're sort of laying down a marker, Johnny?
I think, look, I had that argument for the first 2 games against Wickham and Luton and Reading. I was at Reading. It wasn't an exciting game, let's be honest. Neither was Luton and nor was Wickham. But I wasn't particularly bothered. I've got to be honest with you. I think Thomas Frank will be talking about working in the different phases, three different phases of the work, working on, for example, look, he's not going to turn around, whatever anyone thinks. If you think you're going to turn around a ship that's lost 22 games, finished 17th and conceded 63 goals, and he's going to come in and wave a magic wand. And
was
suddenly...
that not, in fairness though, Johnny, was that not what was portrayed? Like he was the coach, he's this, he's
No. I'm not saying he's not going to make it better, but you can't turn it around in one day, mate, is what I'm saying. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he can't.
I just worried though that when this guy was announced, so many people thought that he was going to come in and change it, and I think
he will,
if he doesn't change it as fast, I do think many people start falling by the wayside. And the reason why I say that is because when he was employed, he was painted as the Messiah, the guy who's going to bring us right back up. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying you, but I'm saying in general.
Well, listen, I probably you could throw me into that because you know, I think what the club's missed is a proper coach, and Thomas Frank is a proper hands-on coach. Look, you know, Ange saying that, you know, you can't have a season where you can compete in the league and be in Europe. Okay, there's a balance. Come on. You don't need to finish 17th and lose 22 games and have a run in the Europa League. So how do people expect to be in the Champions League on a level where you can't rest anyone? You have to put out your best team every single week and then be playing 3 days later. How would he have ever coped with that? I mean, what would we just be? Relegation? Well, you can't do both. What I would say is, you know, if you notice when I was at the Reading game, the Reading game, some of the drills that they were doing completely different to what was being done under Postecoglou. It was an absolute joke, those drills. You know, three or four defenders sat there while a guy kicks a ball in the air and had to head it back. That was their idea of preparation for defensive drills, where Cochrane and Frank had them lined up, were pumping balls in. George Abbott was curling the balls in, and they had attack versus defence with some of the coaches taking part. And that's more akin to what you were doing. They've also been doing something which is just blocking exercises, tiring exercise, where you just get up, right? Ball comes in, fired in. You have to get up. You have to race across the ground and charge the ball down. They were doing that over and over again. Eat, sleep, repeat. Eat, sleep, repeat. And whilst that might seem mundane, that's what you need to install in your team, because he wants a team that's going to battle for literally every single ball, not sitting there or standing there while not closing a player down and letting him have a shot on goal. And that isn't going to stand the test of time with Thomas Frank. And I suppose if you look at that, you would say, well, you know, what's so great about that? But it's the basics, Dave. It's the basics of coaching. I agree. And I think, you know, also the understanding of relationships between players. He was very much up on playing the triangles at Brentford, on the flanks, and understanding the relationships between each of those players. Where does the player like to receive the ball? How does he like to receive the ball? What suits player 1, 2, and 3? And working on those relationships. Because if you look at someone like, I mean, this is an extreme example, but look at the relationship between Sonny and Harry Kane. Look at the relationship between Shearer and Sutton. There's lots of relationships in football. Look at the defensive relationship between Saliba and Gabriel. Look at the relationship that we had with our two centre-backs under Poch. And I don't think we've got that. I mean, so many times we see the players and they're passing the ball and, like, you know, they're not even making the runs for it. They don't understand what player, you know, is actually even going to be there looking for that ball. The one thing we do see, a lot of overlap runs. I don't know if you noticed that, but you're going to see a lot of players overlapping on the flanks, looking to receive the ball. And I would think that you would try and turn Kudus and Matthias Tell into, you know, his Brian and Buemo and Visser. I could go on about it for ages, but I think let Dermotron come in.
I think, look, I said a while ago before Ange came in, I wanted Thomas Frank to come in as manager because I think he was the best fit for Tottenham. And I have enjoyed what we've been doing defensively. We seem a lot more tighter at the back. We seem a lot more organised, which is what we needed. Yeah. And because we're now playing the more proper way of playing, that the defenders sit not so deep but not so high either. Yeah. Everyone's working for each other. You see that in the defense. Everyone's covering up for one another. And I did see, I don't know if I know Johnny was at the game, but with the Reading game, I saw more of the triangles that you see at Brentford. Yeah. I didn't see that at Luton. No. Maybe a little bit at Wickham, but Luton was woeful. Yeah. But Thomas Frank is a manager that will get you going. He's not the world's best manager, but you need a manager that's going to sit there and get you back to basics. And if we can be more defensively tight this season and buy a decent striker, which we desperately need, get a couple of midfielders in, I think we can be finishing the top 7 this year and have a good run in one of the cups.
So when you said he's not a good manager, what did you mean by that? Sorry, I wasn't quite understanding.
I mean, look, I'm saying he's not a world-class manager. He's not your Contes or your Mourinho.
Yeah, okay, right. That's fair enough.
But he's a manager that's Premier League proven. He's a manager that's going to stabilize you and take you on to the next level and build the building blocks for the next man to come in. As much as we all love Ange, and as much as Ange won the European trophy, I think you need to be practical in your management. You need to be more. First thing, number one, is you build your defense. That's your foundations. That's where you start. And then you build out from the back. How many teams over the years have won trophies and championships because they've got a great back four? They've got an organization.
Not just a great back four. They always have players and wingers that can go and kill teams. Always. Man United have when they've won it. Chelsea have when they had it. Leicester had it when they won the league. You know, they had both. It's not just one or the other. You need both. And this is where I get worried, guys, is because at the minute, it looks like we've made a trade-off to be more solid defensively. And look, credit to Thomas Frank. Dermo, Johnny's correct. He's made us more organised. I'll be honest, we don't really look like conceding too much at all. You know, we don't give up too many chances.
Until today.
I think he's going to suffer the same problem as Ange Postecoglou. Going forward, the players ain't good enough. They're nowhere near clinical enough. And I'll be honest, it's just as boring to watch this football as it was Ange Postecoglou's football, because we're not creating, we don't score anywhere near enough goals, and that's a huge concern of mine. I think, Thomas Frank might you make us more defensively solid, but what good is that if you can't put the ball in the net and get 3 points most weeks? And that's where my concern comes in. So basically, that sort of leads me on to the next question, and then we will get to Wembley One super chat here. Really appreciate the super chat, my man. But is anyone else starting to get concerned about the lack of goals and creativity, especially since we have played teams that we should be dominating? Let's be brutally honest. Luton, not great. Reading, not great. Wickham, League Two, absolutely shit. Especially given the level that we're actually expected to go and compete against. PSG, you got Bayern Munich, probably get a couple of them teams in the Champions League. You look at the top 8 now in the Premier League, which is what it's become. They're all making good, clever signings. We're sitting here twiddling our thumbs, you know. For me, the main area that really needed to be addressed under any manager, it doesn't matter who it was coming in this summer, was that forward line. And I don't think we've done anywhere near enough to address it. So is anyone concerned about the lack of goals and the creativity, and do people back Thomas Frank to fix it with what he's got? Because I'll be honest, it looks like that forward line looks like the confidence is completely drained. There's no link-up play. There's no pizzazz. There's no class to it. The only one that's brought a bit of freshness to it has been Kudus.
I mean, go on.
Sorry. I am concerned with our front line and no goals. I mean, that's the business end of your team. That's what wins your matches. That's what gets you draws and gets you 3 points at the end of the day. And I've been saying for the last couple of years, we need a striker that's going to get you 15, 20 goals a season. And we're not going for that. You bought Kudus, UP. That's just one player in one position. We need a left winger as well. We need a striker. We need that new number 10. And we just haven't addressed these areas. And the longer it continues, the longer we're going to struggle. But again, it comes down to the board. It comes down to Levy. It comes down to people putting the money in and also getting the right players in for the positions. Now, if we got Morgan Gibbs-White in, I think that would have been your number 10 sorted or your number 8 sorted. If we need a left winger, we need a striker, and we're just leaving it late in the window, and we are going to struggle. We should be struggling again against teams against Luton. We should be beating them 3 or 4-0. We were lucky against Reading with 2 good goals, one from Lancashire and the other one from Luca, which was a belter, by the way. But again, we were struggling to break Reading down. These are teams we should be beating. We're a Premier League team. We should be beaten quite easily. And if the board can't see it, and if the management can't see it, but we can see it, then there's something severely wrong if they think what we got is good enough. I said it in the first pre-season game. Sonny looks disinterested. He looks disinterested. He looks like he doesn't want to be there. And I love Sonny. Sonny's a legend, and he deserves all the plaudits he gets. He deserves to choose his own destiny now because he's earned the right. But for God's sake, let's upgrade on the man. Let Sonny go out into the sunset after nearly 11 years with this club and let him go and enjoy the rest of his career. Let's upgrade him and let's get another striker. Because Solanke is not going to be the man that's going to get you 15, 20 goals a season. We haven't been the same since Harry Kane left. We haven't had that striker. And I put it down to the same thing as well. When Jimmy Greaves left Tottenham to go to West Ham, we had Martin Shivers to take over. And we were lucky. After Martin Shivers, we didn't have another striker until Crooks and Archibald. We were lucky with Harry Kane, once in a generational type striker. Have we replaced him? No. You have to spend money to get decent players in your front line to score your goals. And we just don't do it. And we can't, we're just thundering on from one thing to another. Yeah, as you say, great defense. But if you're not going to score, how are you going to win matches and how are you going to get draws and 3 points? You're not going to.
And the thing is, like, we look good defensively against, Reading, Luton. But we're going to be coming up against a much stiffer caliber of opposition, who will cause us more problems. And if you're not scoring goals at the other end, it's a problem. Johnny, they do say in football, the hardest thing to do in football is put the ball in the back of the net, is score goals. And look, it's something that I tried to highlight last season. That was a huge problem for me under Ange Postecoglou. I know everyone went after the back line, but for me, if I'm just trying to play attacking brand of football, the caliber of your attacking players really matter, because at the end of the day, scoring goals and creating goals is the hardest thing to do in football. And I think it's a problem that Ange suffered. I think if we had better players, I think if we would have kept Harry Kane, I think he'd still be in the job today, to be quite frank. Look, Thomas Frank, like I said, has come in. No doubt he's made us a bit more defensively solid, but I'd argue that would really be put to the test over the next 3 games. The likes of Reading and Luton shouldn't be the benchmark. But going forward, the fact that we're not really creating or scoring against them, it's a concern when we come up against better caliber opposition, because everyone could blame the back line last season and blame Ange Postecoglou on the back line, and I get it was open at times. But at the end of the day, if you can't put the ball in the net or you can't retain the ball in the final third, that ball is going to keep coming one way. And eventually, law of averages, if you keep putting enough water up against a dam, it's going to fucking crack, And I feel like that is going to be the same under Thomas Frank unless we really address how shit we are going forward.
I think we all know that we've needed a 6 for the last 2 years, 3 years. I mean, all those fans who were saying, let's get rid of Højbjerg, like I said, you said at the time, be careful what you wish for, because the one thing you got about him is a workman warrior, right, who battled for every single ball, got so much disrespect from far too many fans. And now we see a soft underbelly in the middle of the park. So, yes, whilst the attack is, he's got to hold the ball up, you also need a midfielder, right, who's going to break things down and win the ball back and be aggressive in that position. Look, I'll be honest with you. I was praying we didn't sign Dom Solanke, right? I know there's a lot of fans out there of Dom Solanke, but honestly,
Jack's rolling in his bed right now. And Jack loves
£5 million, guys. Honestly, look out in the transfer market right now. This summer has been the best time ever to go and find yourself a top striker. There are so many good strikers out there. There was Jonathan David, João Pedro, Victor Osimhen, Gyökeres. I mean, if you can go second rate, and Cuckoo, Jackson, Watkins, I could just go on and on. Openda, right? I could just keep going and going and going, right? I don't believe, does anyone remember Dom Solanke's performance against Reading? Because I was fuming. He couldn't even jump for the bloody ball against them. Listen, we all know about Richarlison. There's no point even talking about that, right? I do like Richie, but you can't defend the indefensible, and he hasn't been, the best availability is availability, and he hasn't been available. I've never seen him look fitter than he currently is. But talk about being rusty. My God, the ball's like a ping pong ball, right? He couldn't control it. It was bouncing all over the place.
They make football look like it's such
honestly, that was his first 60 minutes of the season, though. So let's give him a little bit of a break. But it's not good enough. Let's be honest. You know, why don't we go and sign a top, like 20-year-old striker, an up-and-coming striker, that we've got 3 strikers to go? Because let's be honest, if both of those get injured, which is very possible, Solanke never had an injury to come to Spurs, and Richarlison was never really injured until he came to Spurs. If those 2 get injured, what are we doing? Going Matthias Tell up front again? I mean, come on, guys. I think over time, Thomas Frank will install in Matthias Tell and Kudos what he installed into Vissa and Brian Mbeumo. I was a big fan of Mbeumo's, and I was talking to my friend who's an agent, and he said to me, yeah, listen, he could be a 60, 70 million pound player, but he's nowhere near it right now because he can't shoot. He can't shoot. He gets in front of goal and he panics and he snatches at balls. And Thomas Frank needs to work on that. And
not like a lot of that forward line, though, Johnny. I look at Udebuy's the same, Tell's the same, Richarlison.
Yeah, that's exactly my point. Exactly my point. You know, you've got to remain calm, right? Top strikers, they're not phased when they get in front of the goal. Clinical. That's what you want. You've got to be clinical. I mean, I wanted Gyökeres 2 years ago, right? And you know, to see him go to the red side of London is gutting, right? I mean, I don't know if anyone saw, he was in training the other day, just picked up the ball, banged it into the top right-hand corner. I was going, oh, my God, right? That should be us. Listen, Richarlison, and we're definitely not Solanke. Solanke is not the guy who picks up the ball, drops his shoulder and bangs one into the top corner. He's just not that striker. João Pedro is... Gyökeres is, you know, and I just feel that we are weak. We are weak in that position. We don't. That's not even talking about left back. I mean, 3 years waiting for a left centre back, left back. 3 years waiting for a centre back. And how many times has a window closed over the last 5 years where we said, you know, we're 2 players short, we're 1 player short, we're 3 players, 4 players. And I just got a feeling it could be the same again this summer. I actually believe there is money to spend. I've said that in March, and I'm going to have to stand by it. But it's not having the money, it's how you spend that money. And as Manchester United found out, you know, with all the players that they spent 70, 80 million pound on, Højlund, Casemiro, you can go through them all, Sancho, on 300 grand a week, 70, 80 million pound that they can't get rid of. It is easy to spend the money in the wrong way, just like Steve Hitchen did. We need someone, if we're going to spend the money, who has an idea of football. And for me, that is Fabio Paratici and not Johan Lang.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem is also we don't pay the wages. You can have any striker you want or any player you want. If you're not going to pay the wages, they're not going to come to the football club. If you say you're going after a striker, right, and Manchester United are offering him 250, 300 grand a week, and we say, nah, I tell you what, we'll give you a lot of bonuses, but we only give you 150 grand a week. Where's he going to go? Yeah, he's going to go. Yeah. And if we don't pay the wages, you're just not going to get the players in through the door. Yeah. It's as simple as that. And that's been our problem.
100%. You know, and look, at the end of the day, you know, that's Tottenham's biggest problem. That's why you always see, you know, players that if Tottenham are interested and one of the other clubs come in, they go there. But not only that, also because they know, like, say if we're interested and Chelsea are interested, United are interested in that, they're going to go to one of them clubs, not only for the money, but they have the history of winning things. They have a history of doing everything they can to go and win. Tottenham don't. They know a lot of players when they signed on Tottenham's contract, a lot of them are looking at this club as a stepping stone to your Real Madrids and teams like that, teams that do go and compete regularly. And that in there is a problem as well. No one's really coming to Tottenham with the long-term ambition of taking this club to silverware. You know, it's a huge problem. But look, when it comes to the forward line, I just don't think we've got the right blend of players. You know, you look at Brennan Johnson, he wants everyone else to do the work for him and he taps in at the back post. You look at the rest of our options out wide, the likes of Udebur, Tell, Sonny, they're all dribblers that want to cut inside. but that we've got strikers that rely on crosses into the box, service. There's just not the right blend in that forward line, you know. If you got players that want to cut in and stuff like that, then you've got to buy a striker that's a fox in the box, that's picking up on scraps and stuff. If not, if you've got Richarlison and Solanke, you need a proper number 10 there. You also need two wingers that can cross the ball, that can put the balls in for these guys to go and attack. That's what their game is. Right now, I'm hugely concerned. I think, again, we haven't done anything to bring the right blend or the right mix in that forward line to make it work. And I think Thomas Frank, to a large degree, is going to come up with a lot of similar problems to Ange Postecoglou. Thomas Frank's football playing out from the back. Bentancur, I think, in that number 6, by the way, is a masterstroke because he's just a playmaker. He gets on the ball, picks it up, gets the ball moving. As soon as it gets into the final third, we lose it and it comes straight back. And that's going to be a bigger problem against better caliber oppositions in the Premier League and in the Cups. You know, we need to address this forward line. Thomas Frank, I think, given time, you know, and a bit of coaching, a bit of work on the training ground, he can improve it slightly. But at the end of the day, what he can't make them do, he can't make Tel become calmer in the box and finish the ball. Same with Kudos, same with Udebur and stuff. That's something you just pick up naturally as a player. You know, as time goes on, the better you're playing, the more confident you become. You know, the more advice you end up taking in, stuff like that. That just builds into you naturally. It's nothing that Thomas Frank can just go, boom, there you are. And when I look at that forward line, we don't have anyone that was clinical. That was my big reason why I didn't want to let go of Harry Kane in the first place. Everyone goes, Dave, Tottenham will be okay. Well, they weren't saying that last season, were they? Because the same people that said Harry Kane were also saying sack Ange Postecoglou. You know, look, son, he's on the decline. His legs are gone, in my opinion. I think it's time to cash in. But again, the warning signs were there last season. If you don't go and buy someone that's ready-made, that can come in and get you goals straight off the bat of a certain age that has that composure in the final third and stuff like that that Johnny's talking about, we have to go and spend that money, because if you don't and you let Son go, all of a sudden we're in a place with no Kane, no Son. You think Kudos is going to bag you 20 goals? You think Udebur, Tel, Richarlison, Solanke, and them are going to bag you 20 goals? No.
5 goals, 3 assists, 5 goals.
The warning signs are there. This is why we need to go after it. We need to buy a certain caliber of player in that forward line that's going to carry this forward line this season. And looking at it right now, we don't have it. And I see the writing. I see bad signs on the wall for Thomas Frank, to be honest, because we may be more defensively better. But if you're not winning games and you're not scoring goals, how did that go for Jose, Nuno, Conte? And by the way, they had Kane and Son to work with. This guy doesn't. And fans will very quickly get fed up with that football and put it all on Thomas Frank again. But I urge fans, let's not just go after the manager this time if it does happen. Make sure you go after the board as well, because I'm sick of the narrative that the manager, he come in and he'll do absolutely everything. Thomas Frank said in his interview, I need help from Lang. I need help from the board. I need signings. He said it all in his first interview for this football club. And what have they gone and do? Absolutely as little as possible. They're setting the guy up for failure. Look, I wasn't one of these that was taught Thomas Frank was the Messiah, because I'm a firm believer you need the right structures in place behind the scenes, working with you to help you along the way. You can't come in and be the one to try and steer everyone along the way, because it's not going to happen, especially when you got the owners we have. So I feel sorry for Thomas Frank to a large degree, but he's going to have to try and get better out this forward line, or the problems are on the horizon. But look, let's anyone want to come in off the back of that, and then we'll get on to Wembley.
I'm going to have to head, Dave.
No problem, Johnny.
I'm just going to say to all those people who say that Thomas Frank is just a yes man, does a yes man go in and tell everybody what he wants in the very first press interview? I need help.
Exactly.
You know, it says it all. Listen, guys, look, I think I was over the moon that we signed Thomas Frank. I got to be honest with you. I was devastated when we signed Ange Postecoglou. I gave him a chance at the beginning, but I had Arne Slot, I had Ruben Amorim, I had Gallardo, I had Nagelsmann, I had all these names, and then they threw this one at me, right? All I hope is the next signing at Spurs, none of us have to do a Danny Rose. Listen, I love Arden Dashwari at Bruges. He's meant to be going to AC Milan. I hope we nip in. Romano Schmidt is another one I really like. And the other one is, Sansa, Athletic Bilbao. If we're going to go left field, Let's go left field with quality and not some make-weight kid that's going to be good in 5-6 years' time. Guys, it's been a pleasure. Dermotron, nice streaming with you.
You too, Johnny.
Dave, have a good one,
pleasure,
mate.
man.
And wish your dad well in the recovery. And to everyone in the chat, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Johnny,
Come on, you
look,
Spurs.
really appreciate your time.
No
I know
worries,
you're
mate.
a busy boy these days, and you've also got to incorporate family life. So thank you very much, my man. I really do appreciate it.
The football link after this stream, not
Oh,
before
yes.
it, guys. After the stream, football link. If you love football, anything to do with football, Sean and I, new channel, really bombing at the moment, loving it.
Right,
Come
well,
on.
I'm going to put the link in here for that football
Thanks,
link,
guys.
guys. So make sure you do what Johnny says. Get over, smash that subscribe, because if you want to keep up to date on everything that's going on in the football world, why not hear it from Spurs fans? Get over, show them the support and the love. So here is Johnny's channel here, guys. Make sure you get over and show them the love.
Thank you very much,
Johnny,
guys. Thank you.
Enjoy your afternoon.
Take care,
Have a
mate.
good one.
Good. Watching Spurs.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. You never
right.
know. Hopefully,
Never know.
the humidity affects Arsenal just as much.
Yeah, we always have the belief until the final whistle. See you
Always.
later, guys.
See you later, Johnny.
See you later.
Have a good one, my man. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. So, guys, make sure you get across the football link. It is their new venture where they do all Premier League clubs and all football news, not just Tottenham related, and it's absolutely flying. So make sure you get over there. We have Wembele 1. He says, morning, guys. The thing I truly hate about Levy is how he leaves our club, where I am truly fearful of a game against one of our rivals. And I think this is the big problem for me, Darmo. I look at Arsenal, I look at Chelsea, and they're continuously at most windows going in there with the ambition of really addressing their problems and going at it full throttle next season. With Tottenham Hotspur, we're always dragging our heels, looking for the cheapest bargains and stuff like that. And reality is, when it matters, when it comes up against these teams, what we didn't do and what they have done in the transfer market usually ends up panning out on the pitch, and we find it very difficult to compete with them, which leads to us being abused by them all the time, laughed at by them all the time and stuff like that. It's a huge problem.
It is a massive problem. And again, how many years has this been going on, Dave, that every transfer window we never do enough? Yeah, and you're right when you said it's time now not to go after the manager. It's time to go after the board, after the people.
Well, that should have been 4 managers ago when we had Jose and Conte in charge, managers who could have actually brought us all the success we wanted.
Should have done. And also, I think, look, I was thinking there when Johnny and you were speaking that I think Johan Lang reminds me a lot of Steve Hitchen. Wastes his money. And Steve Hitchen still doesn't get the I think abuse is the wrong word. I think he doesn't get the criticism that he deserves. And I still think we keep saying, oh, it's the manager, it's the players. Well, how about the man that's actually buying the players? Steve Hitchen, for me, he's never got the criticism that he richly deserves. And Lang's doing the same thing as Steve Hitchen done. He's wasting money. The only decent one we had was Paratici. He came in, he bought decent players. Okay, Ange didn't work out. Yes, we won a European title. I'm still buzzing on that Europa win.
Yeah, and everyone should be,
will be. Yeah, and we're still, and we will be. I will be for the rest of the season, I think. But again, our football director of football has wasted money. He's wasted time. How long do we have to wait to get a bloody signing through the door? Even during that first sort of 10-day window, other clubs were doing stuff. What were Tottenham doing? Sitting on our hands, twiddling our thumbs. And then when the window did reopen again, we bought Kudos for 60 million. Then 24 hours later, bang, there was Morgan Gibbs White. And we all thinking, shit, what's happening here? This is very unlike Levy. Maybe we are backing the manager. And then we all know what happened with Morgan Gibbs White. That's just complete bullshit, all of it. And we're just sat in the hands again. What we're doing, are we waiting for a bargain deal to come up? It's like going into a shop, Tesco's, right? You're going to do your weekly shopping. I tell you what, I'm going to wait here for 2 days. I'm going to wait for that leg of lamb to go cheap because I know there's 1 day left on it and it's going to be really cheap. Instead of paying the 20 or the 12 or 15 euro for that leg of lamb that has a longer date in it. We just don't do things right at Tottenham, and it's so frustrating because we could do so much better. We could do so much better. And we've got the players in the squad. We just need to add to them. And we just don't bother, Dave. We just don't bother.
For me,
I'm getting fed up with it.
For me, I just think there's too many excuses,
Yeah.
let's look at Hitchin, let's look at Lang. And look, by the way, incompetent, don't get me wrong. And I think they do need to be looked at. But who's employing them in the first place? Who's giving them that amount of money to spend in the first place and stuff like that? And for me, I just think there's too many excuses. Put your money where your mouth is. Don't come out and say you want to go and compete and win a Premier League and a Champions League and then sign kudos and not address any other problems. Also, don't say you want to win a Premier League and a Champions League and give Ben Davies a contract extension. It's all just absolute smoke and mirrors and bullshit. I smelt a rat earlier on in the window when everyone else was, doing business. We're sitting there, we're twiddling our thumbs, looking around at what manager we think we're going to get. Meanwhile, Liverpool have gone and signed Florian Wirtz. They've gone and signed Frimpong. They've gone and signed Etikike. Now they're looking at probably doubling down and bringing Isaac in as well. You look at Man City, they signed 3 or 4 players, Timu Reinders and players like that. You look at Chelsea, went and signed Delap and players like that. Man United tied up Cunha and stuff like that. And it was a huge problem. Straight away, we're behind the 8 ball. Like, straight away, we're behind all them. We're playing catch up. You look at Arsenal, they've signed 6 or 7 players this summer. They're all out there on pre-season tour. They're all out there blending in. We're going to do what we usually do. Come back from pre-season tour, bring in 1 or 2 players and go hit the ground running without working with the team over pre-season, without getting used to the tactics, finding your partnerships with your players and stuff like that. All things that actually matter. These are things that Tottenham are willing to write off in order to save pennies, and it absolutely fucks me off. And it just goes to show, people laughed at Todd Bowley when he came in, right? The amount of money he spent, the amount of ways around things he's done by selling the women's team and the hotel and absolutely everything else. But why is he doing it? Because he wants to build a squad to go and win everything. That's why, He's won as many trophies. He's won as many trophies in his 2 years as Chelsea owner as Daniel Levy has, in his lifetime as Tottenham owner. It's absolutely shocking. But when Blair won, this is what you're dealing with when you're dealing with our ownerships. There's always an excuse for them, always. The Big D says, Dave, Dermot, Johnny, hope all is well with you guys. Big up, Big D. Good to see you in the house, my man. We're all keeping well, or as well as can be. But really appreciate all the support, guys, today. And also the well wishes for me, father, as well. Very, very kind of you. But Dermot, I do want to get in. I do want to talk about, a couple of the youngsters and also, we'll start with left back, actually, Dermot, and then we'll crack on with some of the youngsters. But Destiny Udogie has picked up another knee injury. And once again, we're heading into preseason without a proper left back in the squad. Jed Spence is the only real option right now. And he was brought in at the end of the day to go and compete with Pedro Porro on the right-hand side, not fill in on the left. Now, Thomas Frank, he has to be able to build his tactics this preseason around what he's got available to him. But how is he supposed to do that if we don't have an actual left-back available? So, and for me, Dermot, we really shouldn't be in this position, to be quite frank with you. Given that Udogie has suffered 2 knee injuries over the last 2 seasons, which the club has caused, by the way, by overusing him and not having another left back to be able to relieve him of duties and give him rest and stuff like that. It's caused us a massive headache both campaigns when he has gone out injured. So the fact that we're still in this position, we're relying just on Destiny Udogie and now he's out injured, it's a huge concern. But where I don't believe we're going to go and dip into the market for a left back like everybody says we should be, is because they gave Ben Davies a new 1-year contract, which showed to me straight away they were looking to save money in that area.
Yeah, they are. How many positions do we need improving? And left back is one we need. You cannot just have one left back and one player that's been there 10 years. That's proven that he's not good enough. It's all right saying, we've got Jed Spence to cover, but you can't have one player covering both fullback positions. What happens if you lose Porro and Udogie? What happens if they're out for a long space of time? What's Jed Spence supposed to do? Play both sides? No, you're going to use Ben Davies. And we don't buy right players for the right position. We just think we did the same thing. What's the name of the player? We've done it with a few players. Even with Sonny, I would give him an extra year. We'll give them an extra year. You want to build on. If the players are past it, you sell them and you move on. You buy better players in. Yeah. Kyle Walker-Peters he was out of contract. We could have gone in for him. He would have been okay. But I know you're shaking out, but I'm just using that as an example. There's other players out there we could have gone after, and that are good options for us. instead of using Ben Davies. This Ben Davies thing, he should have went at the end of last season. Thank you very much for your service. 10 years. We'll give you a testimonial. We'll look after you. Thank you very much. And we'll let you go. The same as Sonny. At the end of the season, you've earned your trophy. You've earned the right to go. But no, we keep Sonny because A, they're going on an Asian tour. Why are they keeping Sonny? Because he's a cash cow. And I hate seeing Sonny used as that. Sonny's a legend of this football club. We don't go to Wales, do we, with Ben Davies? Because you know you're not going to make any money of Ben Davies. So again, the club are underprepared in that area, and we're going to be caught out again, Dave. How many times have we been caught out in that left back position? And I think since Danny Rose left, we've never really solved the problem. And I'm fed up. It's like banging your head against a brick wall. It really is. You know it yourself. I mean, you go out, you end the season. Where do we need to improve? Left back, centre back, midfielder, number 6, number 8. You've got a list of positions you need to improve.
Yeah.
And we played, what did we play? We played Donnelly. Was it Donnelly at left back on the weekend?
Yep.
He's not a left back player. He's not.
Keep doing it to the kid.
Yeah, we keep doing it. And it was like we did it last season, didn't we? We did it last. We played who did we play left back? Full back last pre-season.
Donnelly.
Yeah, we played a few people out of position and just go and buy the fucking player for the right position. Do you know? It's just so frustrated. It's so very frustrated. And what do you expect from this football club? What do you expect from it? The same old shit.
Yeah. Look, it's just frustrating that we're in this position where, because again, you're asking the manager to try different things to try and make it work, and you can't keep doing this. At some point, you got to say, take a left back out, bring a left back in. The fact that Donnelly had to play there at the weekend, I feel so sorry for the kid because you're not really giving him a chance consistently in a position where he's shown all the way throughout the academy to really give the guy a chance to show what he can showcase and what he can bring. The fact that they keep moving him back to left back shows the problem there, that they haven't gone and addressed the issue properly, and that now other youngsters are having to suffer and sacrifice, which, look, I'm sure they don't mind doing at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, it's not fair and it's not right on them guys because all of a sudden another year ticks by, playing at left back, and it's not his natural position. It's absolutely shambolic. But Dermo, what do you think about the idea of Mickey van der Ven? A few fans have sort of floated that idea around of Mickey van der Ven maybe stepping in at left back. Do you think he's got the attributes to do the job if needed, or is it just a stopgap that weakens us basically in two positions? The fact that you're pulling him out of centre back, so you're weakening yourself there to a large degree, but then putting him in at left back, which again he's not natural to, which again might cause you problems.
I think it's a stopgap. I just think it's just he can play there. That's fine. We'll put him there. I think again it comes down to not wanting to go out. Not to go out and buy the right players for the right positions. And then we keep doing it. Didn't we do it with Eric Dyer, a midfielder? We recycled them into a centre-back. We had many players recycled into other positions. Go out and spend the money and buy the player for that position that can play in that position. You keep recycling these players. Especially with the younger ones, it stumps their growth. It stops them growth in where their national position is. And football today is not what it like years ago. Today, players have to play in multiple positions. And it's the arc of today's game. And all managers do it. So we're not the only team that does this, but I just want us to go out and buy a proper left back. Go out and buy a proper centre back. Go out and buy a number 6. We bought Archie Gray as a number 6. Did he play in the number 6 position last season? Once or twice. He played mostly centre back. He's not a centre back. We had all summer last summer to go and buy another centre back to prepare for what happened, and we didn't. So, again, it's bad planning, and this falls down on Lang. That doesn't prepare properly for the summer, doesn't put all his stocks in order, and then we're left with a situation where we're putting Donnelly at left back, or we might use Van der Ven at left back. Or we might use Ben Davies. Ben Davies can't play at left back for the last 4 or 5 years. He can hardly play centre back. And instead of going out and spending the proper money on the players to play in that position, to galvanise your back four for the next 3 or 4 years. And the club keep doing this, and it has to change, but nothing's going to change. Why the ownership or why that Lang is still there? It's going to be rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
Look, the minute they gave Davies a contract extension, I knew nothing was going to change this summer.
No.
It stinks of it. You know, the guy's legs were gone at left back 6 years ago. And at centre back, to be honest with you, he hasn't been fantastic, you know, but we keep buying average players around. And that's why I'm not convinced Tottenham are going to go into the market and buy another left back. You know, people go, oh, it's grand, just leave Davies around. But the guy's on 85k a week. We know how Daniel Levy is tight with the wage structure. That 85k matters. That's 85k we could have put into bringing another left back in here. You know what I mean? It just absolutely winds me up. But good morning, Graham. Good to see you. Hopefully keeping you well. And Adrian Tria, I'm going to come to this. Look, when it comes to Mickey van der Ven, you know, like I said, that is something that's been floated about by the fans. I do think he can play there. I think he could do a job there. To a certain degree, I actually think he could probably excel there. I think he's got the pace to get up and down the pitch, no problem whatsoever. I think he's technically, you know, good on the ball. He's shown that he can cross the ball. Remember, Man United last season picked up the ball, you know, just basically blew their whole team out and crossed the ball for Brennan Johnson to tap home. But also, I think the season before that, didn't he score a screamer as well?
Yeah,
you know,
he did.
So the guy's shown that, you know, he can play a little bit on the ball. And I think all that will help him if we were to look at maybe him playing left back. My only fear is, you know, everyone sort of blamed Ange Postecoglou for Van der Ven's hamstring injuries, which, by the way, is nonsense because they were happening before he arrived at Tottenham, saying, oh, it's all the sprinting back. But at left back, you have to get up and down the pitch a lot more than what you do as a centre back, and that's where I worry. Will his hamstrings go? Can his hamstrings hold up to play that position? Because it's very intense. Nowadays, you have to add to the forward play, but you also have to get back and do your defensive duties. And I just worry, does he have the hamstrings to be able to manage that? You know, that's why I think at centre-back, to a degree, you're protecting him a little bit. It was a bit like Ledley King. You know, when he had his knee problems, couldn't really play midfield anymore. So you're playing him at centre-back, trying to protect him and trying to get him through games. And I think Mickey van der Ven, I think we could be entering the same situation. And that's why I'm not sure Mickey van der Ven at left-back is a long-term viable option because, you know, since he's arrived here, he hasn't shown that he can get through a full season unscathed without the hamstring problem. So again, if you end up putting Mickey van der Ven out there, all of a sudden he gets injured, you're fucked on that left-hand side completely across the back line. Left-sided centre-back and left-back. So it is an area I think the club really need to urgently get into the market and address, to be quite frank with you. But look, we've got this from Adrian Trias. Says, big up, lads. Worried our transfer feels like last summer when we get big dumb, nothing else, and we are screwed when injuries kick in. To be honest with you, I feel the same. Adrian Trias, look, when we first appointed Thomas Frank, I was very concerned about how the summer transfer window was going to pan out. I didn't believe we were going to have this amazing summer transfer window. I believe the reason why they pivoted is because under Ange Postecoglou, he exposed the club basically to a large degree. You need to go and sign 5 proper quality players to bring in here and really improve our fortunes on the pitch. And everyone got sucked into the idea, it's fine, sack Ange, let's bring in a coach. He's going to be the Messiah. Yeah, he's fixed one problem, but he still hasn't fixed the biggest problem, which was a major problem under Ange Postecoglou, which is that forward line. So, you know, when they were bringing in Thomas Frank and he's this coach and excellent and everything else, don't get me wrong, he's a good manager. But I just thought straight away that means we're saving pennies in this summer transfer window. Then you double down on what Simon Jordan said before the season ended, that Tottenham don't have the money this window. They don't have the cash available. It's all tied up in assets and paying back loans and historic transfers and everything else. And, you know, you look at the way this window has panned out largely, it's been the same. And my big thing is, you know, with Thomas Frank being hired, everyone painted him out to be the Messiah. He's going to come in. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. He needs transfers. He needs help. He said it in his first interview when he arrived here. I need help. He name-checked Vinay, Levy, and Johan Lang. I need help. I need transfers and stuff like that. And we've gone very little to really try and help Thomas Frank. And look, to be honest with you, whatever comes in between now and the end of the window, it's too late. You should have the main bulk of your business done now. Why would you, when you're trying to replace Harry Kane, why would you bring in Dom Solanke, who hadn't had a preseason, a week in before the season starts, and go and be our savior? You're never, ever giving him the fair chance. And that's why I knew last season he was never going to hit the ground running and go and score all these goals like everyone thought. So whoever you bring in now, it's too late. You've already missed the opportunity of bringing them in and bedding them in. Getting used to Thomas Frank's tactics, building up partnerships, feeling comfortable in the environment at Tottenham Hotspur, getting his family settled in the area and stuff. All things that really matter to footballers. We don't do that. And at the end of the day, they're going to be the ones that suffer. We brought in Wilson Odegaard, I think, after the first game of the season. Comes in, be our saviour out wide, injured, boom. Why? Didn't have a preseason, all that sort of jazz. And to be honest, with the injuries as well, everyone blamed Ange for them last season. If they happen again this season, who are they going to blame? Frank? I guarantee you they won't. Hopefully this time around, there'll be a large recognition. Whatever's happening in that fucking physio department and all the people who pay on the medical side, clearly it's not working, and that needs to be changed, like I tried to say last year. Adrian Chia.
Yeah, I mean, look, our transfer window's been shambolic, and there's nothing really I can add to what you just said, Dave. I mean, it has been shambolic, and again, we're leaving them. How many years though have we been saying this about our transfer windows? It's not just under Ange, it's not just under Frank. It was the same under Pochettino, where we didn't buy anyone for 3 years. It was the same when we didn't build on reaching the Champions League final. It's the same where we should have built on the season we finished. That, help Pochettino in the year Leicester won the league. If he bought a couple of players in that January, I think we would have won the league that year. And again, it's the board and Levy not wanting to push the boat out. That's enough. That will do. You don't see other clubs saying that would do. You see other clubs. Liverpool won the league last season. Really didn't have to do much with their squad, because I felt they were good enough to win the league this season. But no, what to do? To go out and spend money on more players. You look at Manchester United. They're in a worse state than we are. They've already nearly got 3 players over the line. What have you got? 1 player. I don't count Danso and Matthias Taylor's signings for this summer, because they were already coming anyway. I just think we just rely too much on the kids that are not getting a chance. We rely on a manager that on a director of football that doesn't do his job properly, and an owner that doesn't want to spend. And if Kudus is our only signing this summer, our top signing, then I'd be really worried.
We've got ourselves into a massive pickle.
Yeah.
We had some of the best youngsters we've ever had coming through. Then what we've gone and done is, when we needed signings for the first team squad, we've gone and signed youngsters again, in around the same age, in around the same ability. So what we've actually done is we've created a large squad full of youngsters. Whereas if the club would have just trusted the youngsters they had coming through, which they need to do anyway, because they need to sort out that homegrown issue and the club trained issue for European football. So if they're going to look to compete there every single season, then you need to start getting that addressed. But now we're in a position where it's like, well, what do we do with them? You need to free up squad space to bring in other people. You bring in other people, you're still left with the conundrum. What do we do with them? You know what I mean? I think the club have got themselves into a real pickle in that degree. And it's coming back to bite us, which means we can't really move much more else in the market. For me, I think there just needs to be a simple realization. You bring in for your first team, whoever doesn't make the cut in terms of training and preseason and stuff, you loan them out, and then you decide what you want to do from there.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's quite simple, but we've made an absolute pickle of this squad, an absolute mess. They've brought in way too many youngsters, and now they don't know what to do. And to be honest with you, we paid the price on the pitch as well. As good as some of them youngsters have been, the naivety also shows the fact that we can't hang in there and see out tough games. We make mistakes that we end up losing games and stuff like that. That's all a part of being naivety. And in the forward line, we don't have the players that are clinical enough at this level yet to go and kill teams off. So it's a double-ended problem. May as well be sitting on a double-ended dildo, to be honest with you. It's piss take. But Dermo, let's move on.
Funny in my head. Just very quickly on that, Dave, one question. You're the one who said Harry Kane, we will struggle after Harry Kane. I said it there a couple of weeks ago that Harry Kane does the job of 2 strikers. He does the number 10 role and he does the striker role. And when we sold Harry Kane, yes, I was one of them that said, if he wants to go, let him go, and Sonny will get another striker in. And I was wrong. And I hold my hands up, and I was wrong. On the last season, now, I was not one of the people that wanted Ange sacked. I got frustrated with the man, yeah, and I hurt when we lose against Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool. You know that as well as I do, Dave, how much you hurt when we lose a game. You don't like it. I as hell don't like it. But we just didn't back them with the right players. So for once, can Tottenham fans please stop blaming managers? Let's just blame the one person that needs to be blamed. It's just Lang and Levy. And we keep hearing this with the Morgan Gibbs White deal, Dave. We sat in our hands for 2 weeks and did nothing, while all the teams around us carried on doing their business. Surely to God, with an organisation as big as Spurs, we have enough people to do multiple transfers. Are we that stupid that we can only deal with one transfer at a time?
Mm.
Do you know? Are we that stupid? Serious to God, are we that thick of a club?
We're not stupid. Daniel Levy's a genius. You know, he keeps saving money every season.
Genius of
You
saving
know,
money, yeah.
and you know, being able to keep signing Davies on contracts and shit like that and get away with it. He's not dumb. He's an absolute genius. But Dermot, I do want to quickly talk about some of the youngsters, and then maybe we'll end off, let you go and get yourself ready for the watch along, and we'll get ours up and running. By the way, there is a Tottenham section in the Kai Takai Stadium today. I think that's what it's called. There's something, Nick will correct me. What's the name of the stadium? Let me get it up. Let me get correct. I don't want to disrespect anybody.
It's the Kai Taki Stadium.
Yeah, the Kai Tak Stadium. There is a Tottenham section in that today, and in fairness, every single seat has a massive flag there attached to it. It's an all-white section. It does look good. It's behind one of the goals, so have a look out for that on the watch long. Hopefully, we'll have some good support out there today. But Dermo, just quickly, what do you think of the decision to loan out Mikey Moore? It looks like he's going to sign a new contract and then be loaned out to Rangers for the season. Smart move to get him regular minutes, or are we missing a trick by not keeping a talent like that around in the first team setup? Because my opinion is, I'll be honest, I don't think Brendan Johnson is much better than him, and I don't think Udabur or Teller levels above him either.
No, look, firstly, he could have gone to a better club than Rangers, but that's just for myself to cut.
I get what you're saying when it comes to Celtic, but I think, I don't think we use them Scottish teams enough to be able to get our players.
No, we don't actually, to be fair. Look, is there in that loan, is that a loan with the option to buy?
No. Spurs,
it's just a straight loan. Okay, fine. Because I read somewhere there was an option to buy, and I was thinking,
Spurs have no intention of selling Mikey Moore.
Good. I think we should have used Mikey more this season. I think he would get better at the wings than what we have there already. Look, I am a Johnson fan, and nothing's going to persuade me that Johnson's probably the next up. Johnson is just a bit better than Odegaard and what we got there, but I think we should have kept Mikey more. And look, I'm still fuming with Josh Keeley. I'm absolutely seizing over that because I think Josh Keeley's a far better goalkeeper than Brandon Austin. I really do. And with Mikey Moore, would he get minutes? Yes, grand. But he's in a league that's not the great league. Let's be honest. And you need to develop in a league where you're going to develop properly. You look at Glenn Hoddle, he developed within the first division. You look at Nick Barmby and these younger players that all developed within the Premier League. But yeah, I would have kept him, Dave, personally. I think he would have done a better job than some of our wingers. But
do you know?
Go on.
Do you know what it is for me? I'm not convinced the others are levels above Mikey Moore, and I think we should have, to a degree, kept them around to the end of preseason and then made our decision. I just, even you look back on last campaign. I'd argue Udabur had a similar, people praise Udabur for the Eze Alkmaar game. Fair enough. People praise Tell for some glimpses that he's shown. But I think people forget what Mikey Moore done in the first half of that Europa League campaign. Out of all the four players that were put out on the pitch, it was him that took the game to the oppositions, him that helped put points on the board. And if he didn't do that, we wouldn't have been in a position to get out of the group and go and make our run to the final. And for me, on that one, I'm not 100% convinced we've made the right decision. Look, don't get me wrong. I think he'll go up to Rangers, and I think he's going to absolutely smash it if injuries don't take over. If he can avoid injury, I think he's going to go up there and rip it up. I think he's a superb player. Again, I'm just not sure. Like as well, I think selling Keeley and keeping Kinski, again, I'm not 100% sure we made the right decision there. But look, we can only go with it, and I do wish Mikey Moore all the best up there in Scotland when it's announced. Faz Radfar41 Spurs, my favourite channel. Big up, Dave. Hope your dad is well. Big up, Faz. Really appreciate the support, guys. I really appreciate the support in general today and all the well wishes from absolutely everybody. Very, very, very kind of you. But big up, Faz. Really appreciate the support, my man. And my dad's on the mend. Long road ahead, but on the mend. And that's the main thing, buddy. Thank you very much for your support. But look, the lineup is out. So, guys at home, give us your thoughts in the chat. Give us you know, how you think this is going to fare up against Arsenal. We'll get Dermot's thoughts, and then we'll get a score prediction. And we will end off, but we do have... Yeah, I need the drink. Vicario in goals. Pedro Porro at right back. Romero and Van de Ven have returned together as a partnership at centre back, with Jedi Spectacular coming in at left back. We've got Bentancur and Sarr, which I presume will form a 2. And then you've got Bergvall, who I think will probably, or will Sarr play ahead maybe after his 2 goals against Wickham, plays the furthest midfield forward. Bergvall completes that midfield. Then you've got Kudos off the right, Richarlison through the middle, and Udebur off the left-hand side. Look, I really like Udebur. I do hope, you know, he can go and have a really good game, and I would love to see him sort of kick on. I think there's a massive talent there. I just need him to start becoming a bit more clinical with possession at his feet. Then on the bench, we have Kinski and Brandon Austin, Danzo, Davies, Voskovic, Abbott, Gray, Basuma, Donnelly, Madison, Yang, Johnson, Son, and Tell, which probably highlights we will make a number of changes, maybe for the second half of this game or at half-time. So that is the starting lineup. Dermo, happy with that? You'd like to think that maybe he's trying to get as close to his preferred and his strongest 11 coming out here, barred likes of maybe Madison and players like that coming back from injury?
I think so. And I think it's very telling as well. And I do believe it will happen. I think Romero is going to be our new captain from next season. I just saw him, the way you talked to Romero before the Wickham game. That's the sort of talk you do to your captain. And I think Romero is going to be our new captain. But I like the back 5. I think that's your back 5 for the start of the season, for the start of the PSG game. I like the midfield tree as well. I think Bentancur and Sarr play well. I think Bergville might play in that number 10 role, by the way. Personally, I think so. I think he's got the talent.
You don't think it'd be Papa Sarr after his 2 goals against Wickham, you know? Because, look, that's one thing that Papa Sarr doesn't get enough credit for. I think, you know, he does follow up with a lot of things in the box and grabs a couple of goals a season by doing it.
Yeah, maybe. But me personally, I think Bergville might suit that role, might suit him down to a ground. And then Kudos and Odegaard. Look, you are right about Odegaard. He's young, but he's such an exciting talent. And I think under a right system, I think he will flourish. But Richarlison up front, this is the main problem.
He's got to score today.
He's got to score today. If he doesn't score today, he looked woeful against Wickham. And I did that watch along for that Wickham game. And I tell you one thing, I did both of them. And I just tell you, in both games, we were woeful up front. So we need the front tree to really go at it today. I think you're going to get that of Kudos, all right? You may get that of Odegaard, but Richarlison has to score. If not, then we're depending on our midfield. And maybe Bergville and Sarr might turn up. But the back 5 for me, I think is your back 5 that probably starts for PSG against Newcastle and PSG. I really like that. But, do you know, we will see changes in the second half. Score prediction. I know Leighton was waiting. He said if I said 3-0, he would leave the stream. So because we're nearly finished and you're ending up now, Dave. Leighton, this is for you. I'm going for a 3-0 Spurs win.
Look, fair play. Good luck, guys. For me, look, I'm excited. You know, I'm not happy. I missed that Papa Sarr's couple of goals there at the weekend. You know,
they were good goals, Dave. They were really good goals, actually, and he played well. He was one of the better players the weekend.
I've been saying about Papa Sarr for a long time, how much I like him, and I think how much he's got in his locker. But I'm excited to see how this gets on. Excited to see Kudos in action as well. Absolutely, really. Do you know what it is? It's just the unpredictability. You know, the guy can just get on the ball and do something that just makes me excited. But look, guys, we're going to leave it there. We're going to get off. Let Dermot go and get himself set up. Me and Jack will be back with the watch along starting at 12 p.m. So really appreciate everybody tuning in today. Q7 says Spurs slow window is not going to bring me down. Dave's back. Good to see you, brother. No, look, it's hard for it to not bring me down because I sort of see the problems on the horizon. Last summer, I was one of the ones that said, look, this transfer window, despite what all the Ange Postecoglou fans are telling me, just to back it, get behind it, he's going to get the best out of it. I said, we've trouble on the horizon this season. We haven't addressed issues. We've serious problems on the horizon this season, and it happened. That's why I sort of failed to not let this transfer window bring me down, because to be honest with you, largely, I see a lot of similar problems on the horizon this season, unless we go out and address the issues with money, Q7. But look, at the end of the day, let's put life into perspective. It's only football. You know, there's much bigger things out there happening and much more important things out there like family and stuff like that and looking after your health. So make sure you guys realize that, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. But guys, That's it from us. See you back here at midday in about 20 minutes' time. As always, come on, you fucking Spurs, North London Derby. Let's go.
Let's get the win for Dave Starr today. Come on. Let's put him on a good vibe today with a win, and let's get Mr. Harris going. Come on.